Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Brown Bag Bets. Powered by BetSperts, we are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and normally I would jump into hopefully some witty repartee with Andy, but instead we have a guest, and we want to get him on as quickly as possible here. We know he's got a little commitment in about 20 or so minutes, so we'll bring him in right away as opposed to getting to our picks first. Andy's got the slide there. Welcome again in his second appearance on Brown Bag Bets, Mr. Jeff Goodman. Jeff, happy Friday. How you doing, bud?
We both tried the fact, I have to shovel in about a few hours again. All it's been in Boston is shovel. Like I should get like whatever the greatest shovel is. I should have invested in it already because it would come in handy. It would make its money back. That's for sure.
It's been a lot of the white stuff floating around where we are. It's odd. We have it. Andy doesn't have it. He's just freezing his butt off.
Where are you, Andy?
Minnesota. It's been too cold to snow. When it's 20 below, it just doesn't snow. So it's nice. I mean, I'm going through a tank of gas every couple of days, letting the car warm up that long. But whatever, we made it. It's warm again, and boy, I've been taking in a little more basketball content than I do lately than I normally do because it is getting down there, and not only getting down there, but like. I was doing some research on a game yesterday, and I just, I pulled up the Ken Palm screen on a specific team, and it was like, is this their last game? Like it was a Big South team, and it was like I went and checked. Like they're done for the season. What are we doing here? Obviously, it's been a goofy season, but some teams are done now. Some teams only have a couple games left. It's wild how close we are to conference tournament stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and Selection Sunday is 3 weeks from Sunday. I mean, It's nuts, right? I mean, it's nuts that it's finally here, and I think a lot of people are ready for it. And it's going to be interesting because again, you don't have Michigan State, you don't have Kentucky, Duke's fighting. I mean, huge game tomorrow night for Duke, huge game against Virginia. Probably the game that honestly could determine whether they get in the NCAA tournament or not because. All the numbers, the analytics love Virginia way more than I do. They love Virginia. As I told somebody, maybe Tony Bennett pays off the Ken Palm and all the other guys. I don't know. But, it's crazy that we're here. I think we felt the same thing about college football, right? Like it happened. You're like, whoa, we got here. And really, college hoops is, like there's been a lot of cancellations, a lot of postponement. But you've got enough inventory that you feel like, all right, like every night, there's a good game. May not be a great game because it's not great teams other than Gonzaga and Baylor. And Baylor's been shut down for the last couple of weeks. So I think that's taken a little luster off the last few weeks of the college hoop season. But they'll be back next week.
As we start to look forward to the rest of the season, I think last time we talked kind of about the top tier being Gonzaga, Baylor, Villanova, and maybe a question mark on Michigan. Do you still feel the same way about those teams? And more specifically, Michigan, we've seen them play 2 games, a nice win over Wisconsin, a clunky win over Rutgers, but that's a perfect sandwich spot with them having to play Ohio State there on Sunday. So it's probably a solid win for them, even though it was a little sweatier than they wanted. I mean, what have you thought about Michigan, and how do you feel about that top tier? Is it still those 4 teams, or is anybody else nudge their way in?
Yeah, I think it's 2, and then it's still a group. And Michigan might be at the top with Ohio State right now, but it's not like you're scared of them. You're not terrified of Ohio State. I think Michigan's probably their upside's a little bit higher because they're so good defensively and they can score. So I guess I would put Michigan at 3 right now. But the other thing with Michigan is they didn't play like the gauntlet of the Big Ten. They avoided some of the better teams on the road. And then they had that pause. They've done a great job. I mean, listen, Juwan Howard, I was completely wrong about him. I figured he'd follow in the footsteps of all the other NBA players that made $100 million plus in their lifetimes and would come over to college coaching and go golf every day and not be able to get talent and not be able to win games. And he's proven me completely wrong. He's done a great job. And I think part of it is, his temperament. And also the Michigan brand doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. It's kind of like everybody talking about Urban Meyer right now. Like, hey, we've seen this 100 times. A college coach comes to the NFL. It doesn't work, never works. I mean, it hasn't worked in a long time. And it is the same thing where you see these NBA players like, well, I mean, this shit just doesn't work. And I mean, a lot of it wasn't just, there was a ton of people saying like, this isn't a good marriage. This isn't going to work. This is going to set the program back. And here we are. And yeah, I had a Rutgers ticket last night, and
Me too.
I mean, that defense was something for big stretches, a big part of the second half where they stretched the lead out big, and a lot of it was just, the defense shutting Rutgers down there. And, like obviously, hashtag blessed to get a really ugly 3-point shot at the end. And, you'll have those go for you and against you. It was nice. It was for me once in a while, but I mean, it was a pretty convincing win in the long run. And I mean, is this their toughest game of the season going to Columbus?
Oh,
I think for sure. Yeah.
100%. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even close at this point. And again, I don't think Ohio State's this like buzzsaw team, but man, what Chris Holtmann has done in Columbus this year is remarkable. I mean, he's done it every year, really, to some extent. Like at Butler, he did it for 3 straight years, getting the tournament, gets a job at Ohio State. Thad Matta didn't leave him a ton, but he's one of the best coaches in America and a guy that doesn't get enough credit for what he's done.
Yeah, what are you expecting in that matchup? How do you see that game kind of playing out?
I mean, listen, I think ultimately if you're Ohio State, you've got to try to neutralize Hunter Dickinson. He's a little bit bigger, but he's a freshman. And Ohio State's got these kind of, guys that aren't, they're 6'7", 6'8", a little bit rougher and more rugged. So I think you've got to win that matchup. And, the other one that's going to be key is the point guard matchup. Mike Smith's done a great job for Michigan. The Columbia transfer that I did not see being able to play at this level, he's done a great job just kind of managing the game, defending. I mean, that's the thing with Michigan, again, is like they can score with you if they want to. They're like Baylor light in some ways. They can score with you, and they can also defend at a high level. They're not a Baylor in either category, but again, they can win games playing up tempo if they want. They can win games in the 50s or 60s. So I think Michigan's a more talented team here. But again, I don't know if they've seen a team that – it's not like Ohio State's super talented. They're very connected. They're well coached. They play hard together. And now you're in Columbus in a game that, again, they've only been off that pause for about a week or so. So it could catch up with Michigan this week.
You got me thinking when you were starting to talk Kentucky, Michigan State, some of these blue bloods that, I mean, just suck this year. They're having down years. And even, I mean, if Duke loses badly to Virginia or something, I mean, they could be on the outside looking in. And, I've been speaking to people about conference tournaments. I've been looking into some of the changes the conference tournaments will be making. And I hadn't even thought that far ahead. Are we, and it seems like you'd be the guy to ask, you know enough people and pay attention to this. Are we doing NIT? Are we doing CBI, CIT, any of that? I don't, that's not happening, is it?
No, because there's not enough money to be made. The money's with the NCAA tournament, so you don't do anything else. CBI has been canceled. I think the NIT is hopefully going to be canceled. I mean, what's the point? I
couldn't remember which one of those didn't even exist anymore. When I said CIT, CBI, like, one of those doesn't even happen anymore. The Vegas 16 or whatever they had one year.
And nobody cares.
I didn't expect it.
Nobody cares about the NIT. I hate to say it, but it's true. Like, can anybody say who, I was looking back, I was doing something on Baylor, and years ago they were the NIT champions. And I'm like, who cared? Like, nobody ever, I don't ever watch it. Like, I'm usually in hotel rooms, preparing to go to an NCAA tournament game, and I'll flip it on, and I'll just flip it on SportsCenter or ESPN, and they'll have an NIT game, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather watch whatever else.
As a Temple Owls fan, I grew up watching the NIT every once in a while. John Chaney and those guys would make runs. So as a Temple fan, as a kid, we'd actually watch some NIT games over NCAA games. That's what was going on in my house. But,
they're from just a sports betting standpoint, they're very hard to handicap. Just because you can have the best power numbers, you can have the best pricing and say, these two teams on a neutral, this team should be 4 points better. You can be nuts on, and one of those teams can just not care. And there's so much of that in those tournaments. Like there's so many times where you see a team make a run because they run into 3 or 4 teams that are better than them that just don't want to be there. So, and that's kind of what Jeff's saying too. I think some of the just even from a watching standpoint, like sometimes you'll flip one of these on and be like, boy,
yeah, they could be ugly.
Texas Tech does not want to be in this tournament right now. Or, if it's a Power 5 conference team that's in the NIT, it's like they just want to go back to school or to the NBA if they're in that position. So yeah, we're sitting on 3 or 4 games left for a lot of these teams, and like you said, Baylor's sitting in break. Something that's come up a couple times with a couple different people, and I think Rob even touched on this too. Everybody's been hitting me up on the Ducks. I want to get your thoughts on them as well. Yeah. That's, it's almost like the opposite of Baylor. People a little out of sight, out of mind. Everyone remembers Baylor's good, but they're not playing right now. We're not thinking about them. Right. Oregon kind of had the opposite, where it's like, shit, is this team pretty good? And we just didn't get to see them play a lot early. Like, there's going to be some teams like that make some decent runs here.
Well, I think with them, it was injuries too, right? You had pauses, you had injuries with Will Richardson. They lost Nafali Dante, LJ Figueroa. So it's so hard. Like UConn. UConn's the best example for me. They were without James Bouknight for 6 weeks. He's a lottery pick. So like UConn sucked over those 6 weeks. They were like 500. Well, with Bouknight, they're a completely different team. They're a team that could really make some noise in the NCAA tournament. So those are the ones you got to really pay attention to and see if you can get true value. Trying to figure out a team that maybe, again, maybe hasn't been exposed for everything they've had to deal with throughout the course of the season, and they're finally like healthy, right? They're finally clicking on all cylinders. Maybe everybody in their team's been positive already. I mean, that's honestly, from talking to coaches, that's what they want at this point. If they've got, 12 out of 13 guys positive in the last, and it really has to be, if you think about it, in the last 2 or 3 months, because once you get beyond the 90-day window, all those guys who tested positive back in May or June are going to have to test again for the NCAA tournament. So really the key is, if you've had your whole team come down with it in the last 2 months, you feel pretty good about going to the NCAA tournament and not really worrying about testing positive again.
Yeah, God, I hope things go smoothly in Indiana. Like, I don't want any. I'm still hurt inside after what happened last year when everything shut down. So hopefully that does go smoothly. And yeah, I mean, just the game where I don't even remember who they're playing, but Bouknight is like, he's something. That putback dunk that was just, I mean, that was my whole Twitter feed was that putback dunk for like 5 minutes, and it's like, God, this is, it's a lot more fun, and from an entertainment standpoint too when we get some of these players back. Decent slate tonight. I don't have much. I was wondering if you had any looks tonight you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the game of the night, the best game is certainly Utah State at Boise. Boise beat them 2 nights ago. Big game for both teams. Boise's probably, they're in right now. I mean, they're definitely in the tournament, but a win here would be huge for them. I've just seen too many of these Mountain West kind of back-to-back games have been splits with the best teams, almost every one of them. So I expect, even though I think Boise's the better team here, I expect Utah State, they're getting 1.5, I think. I would take the Aggies here. And then there's a couple that I like that are teams coming off pauses. Marist hasn't played since January 31st. They're playing St. Peter's. St. Peter's is given 8.5 in that one, kind of like that. The other one is Cal Baptist. Grand Canyon hasn't played since January 30th. Cal Baptist is getting 11, or I think it might be down to 10 right now, against Grand Canyon. Those are a couple. South Dakota State, I like them going to North Dakota State. I think they're the best team in the league. However, their best player, one of their leading scorers, opted out the other day. So I don't know how that'll affect them. But again, North Dakota State hasn't played in a couple of weeks. That's what I'm looking for a lot of times this year, and it's actually paid off very well. Is these teams that are coming off, significant pauses and not being able to do a whole lot in that, 7, 10, 14-day stretch.
Oh yeah, I mean, just even back again, everyone remember just because it was a bigger team. You're talking about an MAAC team and some smaller conferences, but everybody remembers the Michigan State game where they went out and put like 35 points up or something. Just, right. I mean, it was an embarrassing performance. I mean, they're a down team, but it was still pretty bad overall. And you see some of this, and I've run into these where I know some people that are just that's what they're doing. They're looking for teams coming off breaks, hitting them first half or betting against them first half full game. Just more often than not, these teams come out flat. Yep. I've been trying. It's so hard to find this without actually like calling up the athletic department and ask or finding, I've been on like players' Instagram pages trying to figure out on some of these because I played a game on a team coming off a break. I found a big edge, I thought, on Santa Clara, and then I realized they hadn't played in a while. And I went and looked, and it's like, all right, they're actually practicing though. Like I found out they had been practicing for a bit. I think there's a huge difference because some of these ones where they're coming off a break, it's like those kids have been just sitting in their dorm rooms for 2 weeks, and those are the ones where you see them they come out and play awful.
Yep, they're flat. Yep, no doubt. That's the difference. Is everybody's different during their pause. Some kids can do calisthenics in their room. Other kids can go out and work out with their other teammates that have already tested positive, or with their coaches. So it's very different.
Cool. And then, before we let you go, just wondering if you're doing anything cool coming up for the tournament here, if you have anything on deck over there at the Field of 68 or Stadium or anything.
So, we are. I'm going to go for Stadium to Indiana for about 3.5 weeks. It's going to be interesting because there's really no access, so I'm going to be there and obviously document kind of what it's like. And they just announced today that NCAA is going to have 25% capacity at all the games. Now, that includes players. That includes, personnel, essential personnel. It'll include the media. It'll include family members, all that. So 25%, still a pretty good number of fans. So you probably, probably 15% of the people in each arena will be fans, like true fans. So it'll be interesting for me. I mean, I haven't been to a game in person since November 29th or 30th. I actually got cleared. And part of the hesitation for me has been my wife more than anything and her concern, but some mine as well. We got cleared. My daughter and I, we're probably going to go to the game Sunday afternoon, right after Ohio State, Michigan ends. Merrimack is playing against Bryant at Merrimack. It's only about a half an hour from my house. So I can go in. We can sit. Nobody else is really allowed in. So we can sit at the top of the bleachers, not near anybody. Nobody will come over and say hello or anything. And we'll go in, we'll watch a game, and we'll leave.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it does sound nice, man. I haven't been to anything forever.
Yeah.
So, no, that'll be cool. Hopefully you have some fun. Hopefully, like I said earlier, hopefully Indiana and everything goes off without a hitch. Yeah. Now, I doubly hope it, so you can enjoy some action down there while you're down there. And again, thanks for coming on today. And if anybody is looking for a ton of constant college content, and honestly, I follow you on Twitter, not for the content so much as the news. Like you are a connected guy, and you're breaking some of the stuff first. So it's nice to catch some of that news right away. That's at Goodman Hoops on Twitter. And thanks a lot. And you have a great weekend, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk here soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. All right. Well, let's get to some. Yeah, it's fun getting someone who, I pay attention, but that's best. Hoops is his life. I'm betting golf. I'm goofing around. I'm doing this stuff. I'm waking up in the middle of the night watching tennis. That guy lives, breathes college basketball. So it's fun. And somebody in the chat is paying attention on my BetSperts picks. I did play Boise State today, which Jeff can't win them all. Hopefully he doesn't, because I did play. I mean, if you just want to get to that, I don't have a ton to say on this. And I will say that I quickly tried to throw that out the window, the back and forth thing. Although there are, I don't know if you should do it by conference, but there are some teams that I will avoid because they've shown a little bit of signal. It's like, all right, my number's like this team, but they have been traditionally really bad off of a second game against the same team, or really good. If the other team has just been really good in the second game, There are some times where I will straight up just avoid some of these back-to-backs. I think that is a little bit of the reason somebody asked the other day why my volume was lower. I think that's a big part of it too. I've had to throw out a couple games, and honestly, I keep track of those. And I've been right. Like, I've been right to do that. If you keep track of games that you cross off for a certain reason, I think that's a good kind of a good exercise for any handicapper to say, like, or if you say, like, these are teams I almost played and then I didn't quite get there. If you want to keep track of that as well and kind of see, like, maybe you find out your threshold's a little too high and like those are hitting at a 54% clip, you should be playing down those. So yeah, I do keep track of that, and I am right to leave some of those on, even though it is a bit of a small sample size. So Boise State tonight, I make this closer to 3. I'm happy to play them at 1, 1.5. Don't play the money line. Don't pay the extra juice. And that's all I have. Obviously, should have a nice big Saturday card. Hopefully, I'll put that out on BetSperts when we get there.
Got a couple games in the association for me tonight. 2 totals. Now, of course, one is an under. Milwaukee Bucks playing Oklahoma City here. Milwaukee still without Jrue Holiday, and they are really struggling. Their offensive efficiency numbers without Holiday are dropping like a rock. They've really struggled the last couple nights, obviously, against Toronto. Oklahoma City is just a terrible matchup for them, given what they have going on. Oklahoma City is a solid defensive team. They have everything they need to try to slow down Giannis as much as they can. I just think this is going to be a slow, ugly game. I would play this down to under 231. I think is the best number you can get right now. That should be just about everywhere. If it gets to 230, maybe a smaller play, but I like under here in this game.
Of course,
just to change things up. So we got what under? Let's try to be optimistic. We get to cheer for points in the game,
over.
Andy. Detroit at Memphis. Over 220.5. Detroit, again, without Blake Griffin, we've seen their pace come up. Their offensive efficiency has gotten better. I make this total right around 227. Still some value here, I think, if this gets up to 221, even 221.5, something like that. But I think we'll have a very fast-paced game tonight. Memphis has been playing well. Morant looks like he's finally back in shape, so they're scoring a lot of points. Again, Detroit without Blake Griffin has been a lot better from a pace and an offensive efficiency standpoint, so we'll go over and under, or under and over.
Under and over. There is some FCS action. Obviously, the best one will be Jackrabbits, Panthers. There's some pretty good games. I don't play any of that. I know a couple people who do. Maybe I'll retweet somebody today. Take a shot for the Bitcoin all-time high. I bet we do see a bit of a drawdown eventually, but I wouldn't be surprised if it hit 55 before we did that. So it is internet money is flying up today, which is awful nice. I just checked my accounts. It's good. Things are happening in the Bitcoin market. I think and also I didn't hit on this off the beginning. I think we hit every play we bet yesterday.
That's very possible.
I'm not 1,000% sure, but my basketball play obviously won. Both of the golf plays I won were the later plays because the only one I lost was the one that had already.
Yeah, Norlander and Burns.
Norlander, yeah, they had won, and then also, your only tennis play was a double over and over 2.5 sets, and that both came through. So I think we had a 5-0 Thursday. So hopefully we keep that going. Obviously that Paris Island, whatever, is almost over here. There's not a lot of tennis. Tennis
is over. That was the final last night.
Yeah, that was the final. Tennis is the opposite of football, basketball. Like, there's nothing on the weekends. You just have the final. So there's fewer tennis matches. Obviously, a great one with Medvedev and Djokovic. That'll be Sunday overnight. That's going to be great. And it opened closer to a pick'em than I thought. I thought Joker would be a little more of a favorite. I guess I'm not super surprised that we're getting some some respect for Daniil Medvedev. And then if you want to talk about the women's a little, if you want to give some thoughts, because you are holding an outright ticket on a underdog. Did you decide if you're doing any hedging on that or what?
I keep going back and forth. So it's the best way I can describe it is Naomi Osaka is minus 500. Just a few days ago, she was minus 210 against Garbina Muguruza, who is a player similar to, if not more respected in the market than Jennifer Brady. I don't know what happened over the last 3 or 4 days to justify such a big price move, but The other part of my brain is just screaming at me over and over again. Naomi Osaka is just going to win this match. Naomi Osaka is just going to win this match. Don't try to be cute. Jennifer Brady has had a couple matches here against two players that have really made her work. Jessica Pegula did a great job in baseline rallies and was able to take that first set. Her last match there against Mahova, another player who's going to make her work a little bit. Although Osaka hits the ball very hard, there's going to be a lower, I think, work level here for Brady, which might actually help her, and I expect her to be competitive here. Again, I'm holding a Brady outright ticket. I've got some 40-1 and some 25-1, maybe a couple numbers in between. I think basically what I'm going to do is go in, see how much I have risked, and just buy out of whatever my stake is and create a free roll on Brady here in this match. Again, I think there is probably some value here on Brady on the money line a little bit. That +5 even, that probably should be like +4. So I'm not going to, do a traditional hedge where I would split out for half my value, but, go in, clean up my outrights here so I don't lose any money for the fortnight from that perspective and create a nice free roll on Jennifer Brady. I think that'll be the plan.
I like it. I will be watching. I expect that match to take about an hour and 20 minutes, if not less. Hopefully the men's is 5 hours and we have a excellent battle back and forth. Yeah, I'm kind of in the corner of Osaka might just absolutely ether her. She has stepped it up against some pretty high competition. Although, yeah, like you said, Muguruza gave her a little trouble there, so it'll be interesting. I'm done playing overs on her matches because some reason she can just crank it up here now. So that'll probably do it for the week. Appreciate everybody who is following along, getting in the chat. If you are on YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up. Thumbs up are good. That helps people find us. It helps the YouTube channel. If you do listen to the podcast, give it a 5-star review, give it a rating, share it, retweet it. Whatever you can do, that would be appreciated. And if you are in Michigan, New Jersey, or Colorado, don't forget to sign up with our sponsor, WinBet. You get a $500 risk-free bet in New Jersey and Colorado, $1,000 in Michigan, and of course, the free hoodie of your choice once you fund the account and place a bet. So with that, for me, for Alex, for our producing crew, for the technical directors, there's nobody else. I'm just pushing the buttons here. It's just us two.
Our law firm of Huey, Dewey, and Screwy.
Yeah. We'll see you guys on Monday. Good luck with all your bets this weekend, and thanks a lot.